In 62 days, the Integrity OCTANE Series will crown itself a champion. And this race tonight stands as the first step on the stairway to not only a victory, but perhaps the biggest triumph of all, the 2025 championship for the Tuesday Night Tour. Welcome back to the Northeast. Welcome back to Michigan. This is the Michigan International Speedway. And for our 22nd race of the 2025 OCTANE Series season, the playoffs have just begun, and the very starting location, their first venue, in the heart of Motor City. Welcome back live on FTN Broadcasting as well. Last night we kicked off the Ignite Series Championship chase, an exciting event at the Monster Mile. Very similar level of anticipation and energy for all drivers tonight as exclusive coverage of the OCTANE Series continues on FTN. I'll be your host for tonight's broadcast. I'm David Kreutz, commentating and producing. 33 drivers are lined up and ready to take to the field, and the stakes are as high as ever. Qualifying is about halfway through now, but most drivers haven't put in their fastest times, so we'll take a look downstairs to see what exactly is going on. It'll be Zach Schrintenel with the provisional pole position after his first lap. His second is going to be a little bit quicker, and he'll extend his provisional lead. Let's see what he can do from here. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. We'll see what happens next for Cody Smith, Jacob Fife and company, who are also taking laps. Jacob is now taking his in-lap. The advantage remains Zach Schrintenel. Don Stevenson sits 14th. Jared Davis now going to be on his second lap. He climbs up to third, and he's only 32 thousandths off after only his first. A little bit of room for improvement. Now he's got to keep on going and hopefully pull a little bit more. The gap between he and Schrintenel is minimal. And through turns 3 and 4, he's got the momentum to make it happen. Looking out for Ethan Lane to take his time, Blake Cannon as well, all of your heavy hitters. And of course, you got to find out whether or not they're going to make it up there. Already, Lane has his first lap in at the line for Jared Davis. That will take him up to the pole position by 82 one-thousandths of a second. It looks like Lane will not put in that second lap. Davis sits alone for the time being, and he will not be contested for P1 just yet. Ross Cato sits in 5th. And now Brad Patton's on the way. Patton, with a minute and 10 seconds remaining, will take a qualifying time today. Let's see what he can make of it. Cloudier skies than last time we visited the Michigan International Speedway. The sun is due to come out later in the going, but right now drivers dealing with some slight fogginess. It really shouldn't impact them on the racetrack though. Right now Patton sits provisionally in the 29th place. That's going to change after his qualifying run, of course. Nick Tarbuck, first lap and second are done. 79 thousandths off the pole. A strong run without a doubt. Now Patton is on his way. Brad puts his first lap in, and we're going to see what he can do with this one. Kyle Trudell on the way. John Zabaro likewise. Galen Gidman sits on pit road. Michael Krobach is going to stall. There's Yazik. Patton now coming down and in. 15th place on his one and only lap. He won't have time to complete the second. And so drivers who are on the racetrack right now, they're pulling themselves in. It looks like Jared Davis in number 19 will take that top spot, and nobody else will be able to contest. Davis, by 79 one-thousandths of a second, grabs the provisional pole position, and he makes it official with a quick time of 37 seconds and 669 thousandths. Jared Davis grabbed P1 in qualifying for his third pole position of the season. He will be lined up beside Nick Tarbuck for tonight's festivities, and the front row has been decided. Davis sits P1, and he's going to be not head and shoulders above the field, but a definitive lap time that nobody was able to beat once he set it. Here comes Woody Mahan on the way through the smoke, and he'll be one of the first of many now who have the chance to take a final set of practice laps. These 5 minutes might not make much of a difference, but those who decide to use them, they're going to reap the benefits. Now, 33 drivers have made it to our 22nd race of the season. Attendance throughout the campaign has remained as strong as ever. And from beginning to end, the competition level has remained just as high. And of course, now, those top competitors are looking to fight for a championship. We know who's seated at the top of the pylon, Ethan Lane, but he has a few drivers who are now right up on him. Let's get to know your starting grid for the first playoff race of the 2025 Octane Series season. It's of course going to be Jared Davis who grabs that pole. Jared is coming in tonight. He's a driver who needs a great race. He's the final driver in this playoff bracket. He is 15th and he is 3 points under the cut line. He'll be starting in first, and alongside him will be third in points Nick Tarbuck, while Zach Schrintenall goes P3. Cody Smith takes it for fourth. Jacob Fife is in fifth, and Ross Cato is there in sixth. Ross finds himself 3 points under the cut. He is tied with Jared Davis. Entering tonight, he's been on a string of good runs to just make the cut. Galen Gidman qualifies in seventh, while Blake Cannon, last night's Ignite Series winner, goes eighth. Cannon riding the highs, looking for what could be his fourth win of the Octane Series season. First time drive for Alex Kim in the number 37. Alec will start tonight in ninth, and Sean Kalis wraps up the top 10 with his best qualifying run of the summer. Brant McClendon goes 11th, Ryan Bean goes 12th, and Sam Nieto sits 13th, with Brock Potter 14th place, Ethan Lane 15th, and Brad Patton 16th place. Lane coming in top of the points, 39 points above the bubble. You'll then have Nate Campbell in 17th and Josh Gallagher in the 18th place. After them, it's going to be 19th and 20th positions occupied by Nicholas Ward and Matt Sizzler, both of which are title eligible. You'll have Michael Krobach, Don Stevenson, Eli Kars, Aaron Eads, and Brian Yazik wrapping up the top 25, with Richard Smith, Kyle Trudell, Bobby Keith, Woody Mahan, and John DeBarro for the top 30. Your final drivers, Tom Wetmore, Nolan Potter, and Randy Fiash. 33 registered drivers. Wetmore will be the lone playoff contender who opted not to take a time. He'll be seated at the back of the field, while teammate Cannon finds himself up in front. Qualifying is out of the picture. Now comes the bigger picture. 100 racing laps from Michigan. That's your starting grid. Jared Davis takes his third pole position of the season, and perhaps his biggest of his Integrity Racing League career. A minute and 15 seconds left for all those on track. Nick Tarbuck being one of them, and while qualifying second, he is going to take those extra reps on the circuit and continue to warm himself up for the big race. Nick is currently up there with at least a victory. At long last, he finally came through with one, and it took him the majority of the season, but the number 4 team does have at least one checkered flag to speak of. He's been so remarkably consistent over the last season in both the Ignite and Octane series that it's a wonder he only has one win across over 40 starts, and yet he only just got one within the past 2 weeks. He is sitting third in the championship standings and looks like he's going to be a lockup for the round of 10 and should have a very fair chance at going to the final championship round if things play out in his favor. You'll see here Brad Patton, Eli Kars, and those on pit road, Sam Nieto burning it down. Sam in the number 2, not yet a winner in the Octane series this year. However, he does have a victory to speak of in the Ignite series, so he is eligible for both championships and looking now to get himself a good start for this next test. He got those extra laps in last night, 140 of which he'll have 200 miles to deal with tonight as he goes backwards down pit road, and Nick Tarbuck meets with him. Practice is over, track is cleared, 33 drivers, 100 laps, 200 miles. It's a numbers game from Michigan, one of the fastest tracks in the world, and by all accounts, it is the fastest non-restrictor plate style track in the country. With the loss of the Auto Club Speedway, the Northeastern Gem sits alone in its pedigree. Formerly the host of a 600-mile race akin to the Coca-Cola 600, this track is known for its endurance, and the way it tests drivers is unparalleled. Jared Davis taking the pole position as he is set to go for what could be, of course, a critical victory. Jared, to this point, no career wins in the Integrity OCTANE Series, and what a way it would be to break out and enter victory lane tonight. You can see the grandstands are packed, the inside pit road paddock filled with team members for all the virtual crews, and every driver from top to bottom is lined up. Anticipation for a race like this has been running high for several weeks now. It's reality. Got, of course, a first-time driver in the top 10 in Alex Kim. So watch for the 37, the big wild card of them all, but so far getting off to a great start. Top 10 in qualifying. And we'll see now what this 37 team can do from there. Riding on board from the inside cockpit perspective, or just above it, from Alex Kim, first formation laps. Maybe a dark horse to go out there and get a top 5 tonight, knowing the stakes are very different for a first-timer than they are for a seasoned, tenured driver who's looking either for a good points day or for a victory at the end of a non-playoff season. When you're out there for the first time, the only goal you have is to finish the best you can and concern yourself less with the long-term points game. Conditions today from the Michigan International Speedway will be very favorable to drivers. The sun is not out, and I think that's pretty evident. But to go with that, it's also going to be pretty mild in terms of temperature, coming in at 66 degrees Fahrenheit and a track temperature of 82 degrees Fahrenheit. It is the exact opposite of warm, that is for certain. And with that being said, the winds are northbound at 11 miles an hour. The thing is, the humidity is going to keep that visibility low as we take a look overhead. Right now, drivers are getting ready to rumble as the iRacing official pace car sets loose and down to pit road. Jared Davis has collected 3 pole positions on the season now, but has not yet once been able to take it to victory lane. Perhaps tonight, it changes when it matters most. Welcome to the 2025 Octane Series playoffs. We only have 62 days until we crown a champion. The first night of fun begins with Davis and Tarbuck leading us through the opening sector. Ross Cato to the inside on Cody Smith. A quick move, blasting down to the bottom. 3 wide, upstairs goes Smith. And here comes the number 18, perhaps in the wrong direction though, as he surges all the way to the back. And from 4th place that time around, it looks like Cody's going to be scored outside the top 10. Across the line, it looks like we got some trouble here for Cody Smith. He's now going to find himself 18th. And goes back outside the top 20. Cody Smith way high, and he gets sifted out of line. Ross Cato moves up to 3rd. Cato in P3, the best he's run to start a race so far this season. Qualified 6th, but so quickly he got up into the top 5, and so the conversation has only just begun. Take a look further behind. You'll have Jacob Fife and Sean Kalis going at each other. Sean with his best qualifying effort in several months here, and that's wonderful to see. The 90 car now getting up into the 8th place and running inside the single digits. And with the playoffs now in full swing, you might see some different drivers getting better runs, of course. Some guys you don't see up there on a week-to-week basis, as different mentalities are going to come into play relative to the regular season. We saw drivers, especially toward the end of the regular season, the big thing was what was going to happen when the intensity level rose. And week after week, as you saw last week for the Magic Mile, things get dicey when drivers know everything is on the line. Now a little bit of a reset, especially for those drivers who have a buffer in the points. And so if you're outside of the playoffs, you might begin to benefit from that. Sean Kalis taking it to the inside on Blake Cannon. Sean now just ahead of the 37 of Alex Kim. Alex up a position today. Watch to the inside as Brant McClendon goes 11th to 11th and tries to make it into the top 10. Brant low, Galen Gidman up top. It's going to be side-by-side 2 rows deep as well because Ryan Bean is in the mix at the same time. Take a look from afar. It's mostly single file. And here comes Ryan Bean dropping low again. 6 laps in out of 100. Here comes Brock Potter at the same time. Brock, for the time being, when you talk about the Potters, well, he is the leading of the 2 brothers tonight. 14th up to 12th, while Nolan is 31st up to 28th. Six laps in. Blake Cannon occupies the 5th position now. Sean Kalis up to a high position for the season in 6th. Wonderful now for the 90 team as he breaks out, but watch the debuting driver, rookie of the day perhaps already, in Alex Kim. Kim surges high, and here comes the 37 for 6th. A dark horse for a top 5, we said just before the race began. And it looks like a very real possibility Alex hits that mark for the first time in his career within 10 laps of it beginning. Alex Kim is there. Watch now as Blake Cannon has to defend. Take a ride on board with the number 37, and this time it is from within the cockpit. And you can see here he's cruising, and he's using that second groove to his advantage. Getting a lot of nice running just by eloquently taking the middle of the corner, not shoving himself down to the bottom, not forcing himself up top where nobody wants to be, but instead taking it through the middle and letting the benefits from both sides play to his favor. Blake Cannon watching, and it's going to be done double defense as here comes Sean Kalis. Kalis is looking for a move. Leading battle has not yet changed. We'll keep you updated on that matter. But for the time being, it's going to be Sean getting himself down to the bottom here. Kalis is looking again for 6th place. And if he can get up there on Blake Cannon, it could very well be P5. Blake Cannon is feeling the heat, as also comes Galen Gidman. Gidman in the 0-4 trails after, but phases himself out of the fight, perhaps intentionally and perhaps otherwise. A little bit of a gap breaks out of over 1/10 of a second. Now, Blake Cannon is coming up on Zach Schrintenel, so we could see some big shuffle here. Schrintenel's got a lot of pressure on him from Cannon, but I wouldn't say that Cannon is free himself because of both Alex Kim and Sean Kalis are right where they need to be if they want to make a pass. If there's a problem now for the number 44, which there could be, contact! Blake Cannon down the track, Schrintenel saves it. It's going to be now up into P4, Sean Kalis. But he'll get moved out of the way because Alex Kim goes for another pass. It's the rookie in the 37 up to 4th. Remarkable pass by the rookie. He gets out of trouble and even outdoes the veteran in Kalis. New top 5, Kim and Kalis. For both of them, the first time under green, they're running in those positions. Galen Gidman drops back now into 6th at the line, and you look further back, Blake Cannon is in 9th. Not done for necessarily, but even still, he finds himself now just where he needs to be to try and recover. A little bit of right side damage. He'll have to work on that as the stint goes on. He's going to have to get lucky with that pit strategy. Ooh, contact again. Schrintenel up the track, and this could be the beginning of something we don't like seeing. Conflict on the racetrack between 2 drivers in the heat of the moment. Remember, for Blake Cannon, the championship is still a possibility. For Schrintenel, it is not. Dak can't keep up there. It's going to be Brock Potter now coming through. The better of the two Potters positionally. Nolan Potter has not yet been able to get anywhere outside of the top 30 bracket. He's still in 28th, and it looks like those troubles have persisted. Up high goes the 45 of Nate Campbell. Campbell's been on a little bit of a cold streak as of late, not the runs he's needed, and certainly now, even though he comes in with a little bit of a position buffer, it's only a 4-point buffer between he and the bubble. He is only 4 points up on Brad Patton coming in, so that's really not indicative of too much. He needs to succeed tonight above all else, and so Campbell, with the, effectively speaking, back against the wall for the 45 team, is here to prove the highest positioned rookie in points is not done yet. Of course, that mid-pack is still tight. Brant McClendon coming up on Sean Kalis. Kalis is now going to find himself 6th as Jacob Fife gets by for P5. So Jacob gets 5th. He'll be trailing after now the rookie and Alex Kim. Alex Kim has, without a doubt, been showing these drivers he is material for the Integrity OCTANE Series. What a driver he's been so far. "14 laps in out of 100. Alex Kim making it now his second pack. It's all in his jurisdiction. Take a look behind him. There's Jacob Fife and company. Still waiting, but mostly fanned out. Fife peels a little bit out. Looks like he's just slightly showing those signs that he's looking for it, but he really doesn't go for anything more than a brief glance. And he pulls in, that's for certain. Using that momentum down the back straightaway to pull himself right back into the fight. Alex has this second pack. Ooh, a big move up high for Ryan Bean. And Galen Gidman down the middle takes it and surges fast. 16 laps in out of 100. And it's going to be Ryan Bean passed that time around for the 8th place. Ryan to the bottom, trying to get it back. No can do. Jacob Fife right now, 5th to 5th, still trailing Kim, but no concerns of Brant McClendon just yet. Brant's, just like Sean Kalis, having an above-average qualifying run for this team. The 21 now finding himself up 5 spots after qualifying in 11th. So, by all accounts, it is one of the best runs of the season, to begin anyway, from McClendon's crew. "17 laps in out of 100. You got Jacob Fife, P5, Alex Kim in 4th, Ross Cato 3rd. Cato has been able to not only maintain his position, but extend his gap. He holds forward and now finds himself about a 5th of the way through this race with at least 7/10 of a second of buffer to the driver behind him and Alex Kim. Alex is now 5 spots up. Of course, on where he started, but Ross Cato seems to be an intangible so far. You can see he's got himself a whole line of drivers who are trying to get up there, but try as they may, it's not happening yet. 18 laps in. Ryan Bean is in 9th. Blake Cannon is in 10th. Zach Strinton only 11th. You'll then have Nate Campbell 12th and Brock Potter 13th place. And it looks like that will be the end of the main pack. Ethan Lane has only been able to make up 1 position so far tonight. The number 6 looking rather mortal compared to most nights. I mean, last time we went to Michigan was the Ignite Series, in which he qualified in 30th, made it up to the top 10 under green, and ended up, of course, leading, getting laps led throughout the race. He was the 2nd leadingest driver by laps counted, and then finishing 2nd overall to Michael Araya. So far, it looks like he has been where he started, and no real gains from there. Up 1 spot, 14th to 13th is Brock Potter here. And Potter's in perhaps the hornet's nest of it all, side by side between Campbell and Gidman. A fifth of the way through. Blake Cannon, the number 44 now, watching as Zach Shrintenall is just behind him. Cannon has been able to rise as high as the top 5, and it looks like he's settled back down to where he began. Now, 20 laps in out of 100, we talk about drivers settling in, and it looks like that's been the biggest trend of the day. Maybe the biggest issue with it all right now is the big thing. You got to talk about the numbers and the tires. Nick Tarbuck here, second to second. Well, he's going to be one of those drivers who might have to worry a little bit less about fuel because he's in the wake of Jared Davis, but everyone has to worry about tires here. What we're expecting to see is that if things stay clean and green, you'll see a 50-50 split. It looks like the expectation is drivers are running this to halfway. We have 3 extra sets of tire available, and if we are able to go all the way under green, only one of them will be used. We have enough in the tank fuel-wise to go for about 100 miles if absolutely necessary. The next-gen stock car is a little bit more lenient when it comes to doing that 50-50 split at Michigan. However, we saw that the conservative estimate took hold in the Xfinity Series race in the Ignite Series, which has a slightly lower fuel capacity of about 85 to 90 miles if you really stretch it. I think today is going to be different, where drivers will benefit from going longer. I think that's the end goal. "22 laps in out of 100, coming to lap 23. Nick Tarbuck is 7/10 back on Jared Davis. Davis has looked unstoppable so far tonight. From the pole, he has led each and every moment of this race, not to mention each and every lap. Side by side further behind, it's going to be Alex Kim looking on his back end, Jacob Fife, and Brant McClendon. Take a look from behind now, the number 21, Jacob Fife. It looks like he just got swiftly passed. As high as Brant McClendon can go into the entry of 3 and 4 there. A little bit of a scrape in the wall, as a matter of fact. Jacob Fife going to go for the opposite approach. He's going to take it down to the bottom. It looks like right now, advantage McClendon. Take a look back, and you'll see Galen Gidman side by side with Brock Potter. Blake Cannon now on the outset as Nate Campbell goes inward. 25 laps in out of 100. Quarter the distance to do it. Galen Gidman watching here. Gidman has fallen back from where he qualified in 7th. And inside the top 10 to back outside of it, it looks like he's seen the ups and downs just about as much as Blake Cannon has. They started on the same row, and now they find themselves position to position again. Gidman skirts up high. That's going to help out for Brock Potter. Brock Potter slicing to the inside again. Gidman up top. It's side by side once more. Largely single file across the field of 32 starters. Again, Tom Wetmore connecting but not racing tonight. And it looks like the number 51 team not able to go at it once again. Just going to get those last place points and go from there. That's going to be the best opportunity possible for a driver who can't go racing. Here's Bobby Keith and Cody Smith. Smith very far behind right now. And you can see with them, Bobby Keith, these two drivers just trying to get themselves as many points as they can. They're the final 2 starters. They're still on the lead lap. But as you can see, there's a gaggle of about 5 or 6 drivers, led by Josh Gallagher here, who are not at all in contention up in front. You see Gallagher, and then there's a few behind training with Randy Fiash. 27 to go. Of course, perhaps until our first pit stop cycle concludes. For some drivers, they could go up to 55 laps, but we're only 27 laps in overall. 11th to 4th is the biggest mover inside the top 10, Brant McClendon, and of all drivers, the only that's made it outside of the top 15 to in the top 10 is Nate Campbell, gaining 7 spots to go from 17th to 10th. To the inside, Sean Kalis to Nate Campbell. Looks like Kalis now falling back down to earth after being as high as 4th place on the day. Quickly passed by Alex Kim for that honor, but right now he's just hanging on to the end of the top 10. Zach Schrintenel 8th, watching as it becomes a 3-car fight. Will Schrintenel have to defend aggressively, or is it going to become Nate Campbell going at it as well? Let's see what happens here. Campbell in the 45 for 9th place. He's trying to get 8th. Nate coming in again has to compete against the guys on the bubble, which include Brad Patton, Cody Smith, Don Stevenson, Ross Cato, Matt Sizzler, and Jared Davis. Those are the primary competitors of the day. Now, Stevenson finds himself in 29th. Cody Smith finds himself way back in the field in 31st. So for Schrintenel's case, well, he's watching behind. Nate Campbell doesn't have to be too concerned about where he is. The big issue becomes whether or not those drivers either get a lot better through the race and get some more position, or if Campbell ends up making a mistake through green flag strategy calls, which, the way things are looking, that would be the only opportunity in which we would see mistakes being made. Ethan Lane in the number 6 is leading Nicholas Ward and Galen Gidman and Brad Patton alike. Brad right now looking to make some quick moves. 17th in the scoring loop the time previous. Now up to 16th. Looks like the top 15 is very realistic, and you can see Ethan Lane losing another spot. He is still in 13th and has only made up 2 positions today. And for a track where Ethan Lane looked outright unstoppable just a few weeks ago, it's a change to the next-gen car that has him looking once again like he's just like everyone else. Now, it's hard to say that when you think about the numbers. He has 8 wins on the season, the most of anyone by more than double any other driver's winning total, but likewise, you got to consider the facts here. This is the playoffs. Everything goes different when these are the races that matters. And of course, clinching your way in with that top seed is a huge deal, but right now a subpar race for Lane isn't going to help. Granted, he's running 13th, which isn't a horrible place to be. If he was in 25th or somewhere lower around that range, it really would be cause for concern. But for the time being, this is one of those races that he could let slip. I'm highly doubtful that will happen, but with Ethan Lane now feeling the pressure again from Brad Patton, you could see him fall back down to 14th, and in a rare moment, Lane is dropping positions outright in the mid-pack. Let's see if he's got anything left in the tank maybe to come back on him. From on board with Ethan Lane. Hitting speeds of up to 195 miles an hour into turns 3 and 4. And you might have just heard there the engine basically cut, clutching and coasting to go the distance, as it looks like Lane's end goal is to go for the 50-50 strategy. And with that being said, I think Ethan Lane right now is going to be eyeing for that sort of opportunity more than anyone else is, and he's really aggressively losing pace, but with an intent that could make him a race winner. Watch now as Zach Schrintenel leads another gaggle of drivers. You got Campbell. Cannon is back up there for 9th, and then Brock Potter, 34 laps in, about a third of the way through, but more than halfway through our first stint. It's going to be Schrintenel advantageous for the time being. starting to see drivers take it up to the higher side of the track, interestingly enough. It's going to be 3 wide for a brief moment, perhaps. Cannon can't get there. It stays double file. Now, to begin this race, those first 25 laps, we saw drivers strictly taking it down to the bottom or using the middle. So it's interesting now to see maybe to save some tire, drivers are developing a penchant for the high side. Something that doesn't often happen at these bigger tracks. Again, 2 miles to begin with. You don't want to extend that anymore and run your fuel out, but maybe just to get more power out of the straightaways, that's the compromise these drivers have to make. An interesting call, without question, as it looks like now you got a lot of drivers going for it. Ethan Lane, he's going to take it a little bit higher now, but of course, not just coming off with the paint. Brad Patton is several grooves up. Lane just skates himself off the bottom line outright. Ross Cato finds himself leading the way here, and that's for a reason that comes down to strategy concerns, as already we've got some notable drivers now making their calls. Jared Davis and Nick Tarbuck decide that they're going to hang on. They're going to stay on pit road no longer. They're going to keep themselves on the track. But what they're going to do, take themselves out of the race lead. And as such now, they're going to find themselves filing back and giving full control to the pack ahead of them. So Ross Cato's now going to have the lead, but what comes with it is the detriment of having to work your fuel a little bit more. If you want to maintain the lead, you got to push harder. And so Ross Cato now with clean air has a choice. Does he push or does he give the lead back up? He might give it up to Brant McClendon, but notably for him, the more laps he leads, the more likely he can pull some bonus points in and better track position as the race goes on. So this is a double-edged sword for Ross Cato, but he might just let Brant McClendon go by. If McClendon is to lead, it is no harm, no foul. Remember, Brant does not have himself any reason to concern himself with the championship points. He's out of the playoffs. And so if he takes the lead, Cato could benefit from being in the draft while not having any of his competitors ahead of him. Eric McFarland in the chat, shall we say, coming through for our Roadhouse Racing guys who did amazing last night. Blake Cannon leading that crew as he finds himself right now, of course, running in 8th. Shelton Ponder in the chat room asking, do we have competition cautions? We do not. If push comes to shove, or if the opposite happens, actually, we will stay green all night long. So yes, there is potential for a fully green flag affair from the Michigan International Speedway. It all depends on how clean the drivers keep it. It really does just come down to whether or not they can keep things in one piece by themselves. Wiggle for Brant McClendon, second place man with a minor bobble. Ross Cato up to the top side, and so he'll go with him. Nick Tarbuck. Tarbuck takes it about a half groove higher, works himself in the middle for the corners again. 3 wide, that's for second. Brant McClendon with the advantage, and this has been the best race of his season so far, McClendon. He has not backed down, and it looks like he is sure as ever not quitting on this car. Within 10 laps of the golden number, 50 of 100, that is the halfway point. Let's see what happens now for McClendon, because he's got a few other drivers to look for. Notably, here comes Alex Kim, the rookie, and Jacob Fife. They're going to be fighting for 5th against one another. Jacob low, Alex Kim up high. It's going to be side by side for P5 here. Alex falls back to 6th for the time being, and it looks like for the first time in over 15 laps, he's outside of the top 5. What a great race so far for Alex, however, and only his first ever start, and he is coming to the scene looking like a veteran. And tonight we've seen a few drivers really having better runs than anticipated. I mean, so far it's been not only the Alex Kim car, but Brant McClendon. And McClendon right now is only within 2 seconds of the race lead, or rather 0.2 of a second. The closest he's been all night long. We'll see if he decides to ride in line, though, which, when it comes to his long-term chances for victory, might be the better decision, just because he doesn't have to worry himself about going down a pit road with more worn-out stuff. Or to add to that, he won't have to worry about going in earlier, so he'll go for what could be the overcut, shall we say. And that would be to run longer and make sure he's got newer tire at the end of the run. I think the advantageous position is with Jared Davis right now. Davis is trailing Tarbuck and Cato and McClendon, and doing so with a purpose. Getting as much toe down the straights as he can, and then listen through the corners, because I am pretty certain he's clutching and coasting. This time around, choosing not to, but very, very light on the throttle, as you might have noticed. He's going to let Nick Tarbuck get a little bit further away, then try to push himself back up there. Being delicate on the power means he doesn't have to put as much pressure in to get the same speed out. Again, Jared is being towed now by Nick Tarbuck, so when they're going at higher speeds, Nick is cutting the air ahead, which basically gives Jared Davis an advantage when it comes to speed. He'll be able to pull up to Nick whenever he wants, which means that he can roll a little bit slower out of the corner, use a little bit less of his fuel, and then go full throttle and get more speed out of the same power. Basically, for Jared Davis right now, running behind Nick would be better when it comes to fighting for the win than running ahead of him. Ross Cato continues to defend upon Brant McClendon. It still looks like these two drivers are set in their ways and not concerned about going to the 50 mark. Strategy calls have been all calculated to this point, and it looks like Brant McClendon is going to drop down and in, and he will not concern himself with going to 50. First pit stop of the day for the number 21, 5 laps shy. So when it comes to fighting for the win, I don't know if this is the winning call. All the other leaders still out there, and it'll be Ross Cato still leading. Ross still has to make it to 50. One driver in this pack down, but you still got 5 going at it. Next best will be Blake Cannon. Cannon now runs in 6th. Watch to the inside as Jared Davis drops low. Davis now getting himself back up to 2nd place here, breaking out and away from Nick Tarbuck and shooting quickly. It looks like he saved a little bit, and it'll be just enough now to put himself in prime position to lead the strategy call. Maybe he won't come in with Ross Cato, or maybe he won't come in ahead of Ross Cato, but if he comes in ahead of Tarbuck and Fife, that should be enough to control the playoff guys behind him. Looks like Jacob Fife is thinking the exact same thing. Fife for P2. And Jacob will take it as the 19 and 36 swap, and so at lap number 47, they're coming down and in. This is tight. Contact! Jared Davis, Jacob Fife, and a spin! The 36 goes around in pit road. And for Fife, that's going to cost him upwards of 10 positions and more than 20 seconds on the racetrack. Take a look at that whole lap and a full replay to bring you to that point. Nick Tarbuck stays out, but watch from the perspective of Fife as it all goes down. This was the battle to have that advantage in a pit road, and Fife, fighting at his hardest, couldn't get it done. Ross Cato dropping in, Fife braking a little later, and as he did so, contact. Then you got Davis there, and the spin. Jacob is now back on the way, but as he gets out, he's going to be nearly a full lap down. Ethan Lane now leads this one, and it looks like he's going to find himself on the strategy of going for the one-stopper, and he's heading in at least next time by. Nick Tarbuck opting to go in just beforehand, and it looks like he's now on his way. After 49 racing laps, Nick is close, and he also has track position here, so he might have to save a little while longer, but he also has the edge of just having those extra seconds, which are going to count relative to Ethan Lane very soon. Ethan is coming up to put the number 4 team one lap down, but before he does so, he's got to realize pit road is inevitable. Jared Davis on the way, and when we take a look at that number 19 team, he finds himself now trailing immediately Nate Campbell and Ross Cato. Slowed down a little bit, perhaps, by the incident that just happened with Jacob Fife. Lane stays out for his 51st lap of the day, and for the first time all night long, he is leading, and so it looks like, and backing off early, he's gotten the lead at the halfway point when it matters most. .50 laps to go. Lane signaling in, and it looks like as he backs it down to 170 miles an hour, will this be the one? Yes, it is. Ethan Lane drops in for what should be his first and only pit stop of the night. Going to be interesting to watch now. Track position and a very close one-stopper versus a comfortable one-stop run and several seconds to make up. I mean, the gap was upwards of 5 seconds when Tarbuck went in. Let's see what happens now as we keep a closer watch on Tarbuck, Davis, and Ross Cato, who lead off of that mid-40s pit stop cycle. Caution's out, first time tonight. Yellow flag is in the air, and it looks like at the halfway point, we've got trouble. Take a look at this. At the 50-50 marker, an incident. Taking a look overhead on the circuit to figure out where it happened. There's Alex Kim and Nick Tarbuck. Looks like a bump between them, and they were coming down the front straightaway, and it was definitely close. But between them, it doesn't look like anything happened. Likewise, you look back, and you'll see Eli Cars with some trouble. And so it looks like this is where the issue arose. Taking a look. Eli Cars and the number 82. First yellow flag of the day, 49 laps remaining. Eli was on the inside of the racing track. And so it looks like as he went there, came back up. So that's the first part of it here. This might have been the issue. 49 laps to go. First caution of the day. And the 82 car slowing down and I believe stalling out. So I think that's a lack of fuel. And that's a safety concern. Can't have a stalled car on the racing track. And so we had problems. Cody Smith just getting on the way. And at that time, the yellow flag had been called. Eli Cars one down as a stalled race car on the racetrack. After halfway under green, we got ourselves the first break in the action. Caution's out. Ethan Lane, your race leader. And then you'll have after him, take a look at those coming off of pit road. There's Nick Tarbuck, Jared Davis, Ross Cato, all of which together now. .48 laps remaining. For the first time tonight, Ethan Lane leading under caution, of course. It's our first yellow flag of the day. The first real opportunity he's had to show his stuff. Randy Fiash ducking down a pit road. And so it looks like the call on the field for the 54 is additional service. Cody Smith there as well. Got a lot of the back half of the field. Getting some extra service. The 18, one of many there. And in that regard, he won't be alone. Michael Krobach now catching up. Krobach we're seeing for the first time in several months. Good to have the 72 team back for Team Conti. making some starts early in the season, and now pulling himself back together for some late season running. Of course, his end goal is chasing the checkered flag. 47 to go, Ethan Lane, accompanied by Matt Sisler. Matt making it above the cut line last week in some clutch racing, and now finds himself with a shot to advance through the ladder. Second place tonight would be a miraculous performance for the 93, best of his season, and in its most important race. One to green. Next time around. Looks like the signal is already on for us to go restarting this time by, but if we do so, it's a single file jump. iRacing pace car ready to roll into pit road. And it looks like to start the playoffs and these cautions, it'll be a single file run. Ethan Lane with the advantage above all else. In fourth place is a rival in Ross Cato. Ross has been having the best race of his season. Ethan Lane, perhaps the worst. Green flags out. The tables have turned. The 6 team leads to green. Watch now as these drivers start getting themselves back in racing form. Single file spread going to be a little bit more difficult to immediately go side by side. It's a full train down the line, and the closest battle was outside of the top 15 briefly with Zach Schrintenall. But otherwise, it looks like the leaders get away in one piece. Lane has Matt Sisler as backup, and to add to that, he's got slightly younger tire. So advantage Lane, it looks like everything has fallen to his favor. When it comes to strategy, nobody could be any luckier. 45 laps to go. Take a look aboard now, the 93 of Matt Sisler as he gets up to second place, the highest spot he's run it all night long. Is he going to try to chase down Lane or stay where he is? Only a few car lengths behind, a quarter of a second as a matter of fact, Ethan Lane to Matt Sisler. And you can see here, the distance between these guys, brief, but it looks like it might become a little bit more so. Here comes Ross Cato. Cato looking for second. Ross Cato surging. 44 laps remaining. It's going to be double file briefly. Maybe a crossover maneuver from Cato as he went up high, tried to make the pass, couldn't quite do it. Up high. The entire field taken in the wake of Ethan Lane. They'll follow his every move right now, but it's going to be Jared Davis who dares to do the opposite. Drops low, can't get there yet, but the signs are he can make the move. 43 laps to go. If Jared Davis has decided that he has enough, it looks like he's got the speed to go for it. He'll take third. Now comes Ross Cato for second. And not only that, for the race lead, Ross outside on Ethan Lane, and at the stripe, the 12 team's back on top. 43 to go. Take a look from behind. The entire field is now looking from the opposite perspective. Ross Cato leading. .42 laps remaining. Ross Cato's got himself what he needs. And it looks like right now, he's got the stuff, the speed, and the distance made up quick. Ethan Lane, we haven't seen all too much of him tonight, so it's difficult to judge whether or not he's got the speed for the long term to actually gain. He had some struggles doing so, but perhaps they were intentional. He kept himself in the mid-pack to pace himself for a pit stop. .41 laps to go. Lane now is in a completely different position where it doesn't look like the fuel or tire numbers should be a concern, and instead the only difference for him will be whether or not he wins this one or finishes second. So he's not going to have to worry about controlling himself. Jared Davis, though, first down to third. He's going to have to go all out to reclaim not only second place from Lane, but the overall lead. Laps to go. Nick Tarbuck now having Brian Yazik on his back end, and also Alex Kim. Kim looking to rebound and take a few positions of his own right here. Ryan Bean trying to take 7th place back, and I think the end goal for Alex Kim is now a very real opportunity for that top 5. He ran in 5th and 6th for the majority of the first run, and now it looks like he's right on the bleeding edge again. 39 laps to go. Lane in the number 6, careening down the back straightaway, still with about a 10th plus over Jared Davis. Take a look now with 3rd place Davis, but take a look from 2 perspectives. First off, we'll show you a little bit from the front side where the chase is on, and let's see what Davis does with this. For the most part, just running in that same trail, but these 3 drivers aren't enough to indicate that. You also have to look back to the rest of the field. We still have 30 drivers on the lead lap, most of which doing the same thing. Brian Yazik looking high now on Matt Sizzler. Matt is trying to keep himself inside the top 10, and it will be a huge run for him if he does so. 93 slots in ahead of Nick Tarbuck, a little bit of bumper cars there, and that's going to give Alex Kim the shot to go within the bottom of the circuit. Take it from Tarbuck. .37 to go. Swerving up and swerving right back down. Ryan Bean here looks. He's got Nicholas Ward boxed out at the very same time. Ward, 19th up to 9th, has made up 10 places, but the biggest mover is Yazik, who's gone from 25th up to 4th. Yaz is having a remarkable night, and when it comes down to the numbers, unfortunately, it won't mean too much for the playoffs. He's out of it, but when it comes to victories, he's only got to go for a few more spots. He's made up 21 so far. Can he take the rest? Cato still leading, Lane down to 3rd. Jared Davis does indeed retake 2nd. .36 laps to go. Pit stop strategy again out of the window unless damage accrues for any driver here. They should be good on the one-stopper. Caution was enough buffer to make it happen. Nick Tarbuck now going to have himself looking behind. It's going to be Nicholas Ward and Alex Kim again, eyeing each other for positions 7 and 8. Now with Matt Sizzler going once more to the top side. If he falls back, it could be a top 5 shot for Kim in just one move. He's behind both Tarbuck and Sizzler. Now he's got the run on the number 4. Matt Sizzler pulls it back together. 35 to go. Here we go again. Alex Kim surging high, still Tarbuck right beside him, but it looks like with that move out of 2, it's going to be right behind. Matt Sizzler tries, but try as he may, can't get it back. Alex Kim for 5th. Nick Tarbuck fades, and you see it there, scrape up with the wall. And even staying in the top 10 now might no longer be a guarantee. John DeBarro from 30th is up 29 places and looking for his 20th. I mean, 19 to this point. Nick Tarbuck side by side with Nate Campbell. The 45 car drops low, and the rookie tonight, it looks like, has been able to hang on for a solid single-digit run. This is going to help him out, of course, 4 points above the cut line coming in, and those small point differentials are really going to be meaningless at the end of a 3-race stretch. Again, this is the first race of the round of 15. We go until the end of August for the round of 15. We go through September for the round of 10, and then we go through for the final 5, and that will be the championship finale round, September and October. .32 laps remaining. 3 wide now, and that's going to be a very close spread right down the front straightaway. It was comprised of Jacob Fife, Blake Hannon, and Brock Potter here. The Sim Motion Chevrolet, 5th to 18th. Jacob with 1 win on the season. He's been strongest primarily at those intermediate racetracks, and for him, his best opportunity for a victory again would come in the round of 10. So first he has to survive this round, but being outside of the top 15, well, that's not going to help him out all too much. Sim Motion Chevrolet Camaro with 31 laps to go. Well, he's got room to improve. He qualified 5th tonight. If he was to finish there, it would be a great night for him. But right now, not so much. Ryan Bean, 12th up to 7th. Watch what happens now for the 26. Ryan's one of those drivers who I think has playoff potential for him in the coming seasons. This is his first full-time season in the Octane Series, and while he hasn't yet been able to become a consistent top 5 threat, he's a driver who benefits when opportunity arises from others' misfortune, and it's great to have that time and again, but he has that power consistently of getting up there in the back half of the top 10 and not causing trouble, but getting his name known. Now, the execution standpoint might be a little bit different, but Ryan Bean is definitely a driver who's got some pace that should be looked out for in the coming seasons. Ryan, of course, just getting things started, and I think you're going to see more from him in the future, but that's all about building up that potential. Wow, here comes Alex Kim on Ethan Lane, the rookie pressuring the Coke Series driver. Very rarely do you see that. That is unbelievable. Alex Kim is looking like one of the best tonight. That's without certainty. Of course, coming in, he's made it certain so far. Ryan Bean is in the playoffs, mind you. We got to keep that in mind. But the numbers have shown that he hasn't yet been able to go out there and become a winning threat. It could change these next few weeks, the most important of all. .28 laps to go. 15th up to 4th is Ethan Lane. .28 remaining here for Ethan Lane as he surges side by side behind Matt Sizzler coming through. Ryan Bean. Sizzler coming in for a 6th place performance. I mean, he has been a driver who has been on the cut line week after week and not yet has been able to make it through with any sense of security. Nevertheless, Matt Sizzler keeps on fighting, and the grit he's had overall, he's made it happen. .27 laps to go. John Zabaro drops inward. John's in 11th, Tarbuck in 10th, Nate Campbell in P9. Looks like largely going to be still single file fanned out. 25th to 3rd for Brian Yazik, though, as he still gets away from the number 37 of Alex Kim. Kim for a podium. How about that? And it looks like now he's right up on the back end of the 55. Alex is going to let the 55 car slide through. Take a look on board once again now. Here comes Alex Kim looking for 3rd. the closest Alex has ever been to coming through for a top 3. And again, it's only his 76th ever lap in the Integrity OCTANE Series. That's how long he's been here, and that's not a long time at all. Jared Davis watching as Ross Cato gets closer and closer, but so far, Ross has been unstoppable. Keep in mind one thing, Ross today comes in as a one-time race winner with a career best finish of 2nd in points in the 2023 season. Ross came through with a critical victory in the penultimate race. 24 laps remaining. Of course, he's looking for his 2nd after nearly 2 years of anticipation. .23 to go this time by. Fast Forward Esports, waiting for their big break. And this would be almost effectively speaking a bye to the next round, the round of 10. For Cato, all that time to prepare would be a critical advantage, and a night like this comes only once a season for any driver when you know it's your chance and you have to use it. With 22 laps to go, Ross Cato is advantageous. And with that being said, we'd like to thank our friends at Whiplash SimCams for bringing you tonight's action. Of course, Whiplash for the 2025 racing season and beyond, the proud provider of FTN Broadcasting cameras, and you can join the fun as well with free camera packs on their Discord server and no licensing fees attached. Once you buy them, they're yours. $5 per car, per track. It doesn't matter what of the over 100 options available, constantly updated, the best service, the best package. Thank you for using, of course, FTN Broadcasting to go through your Monday and Tuesday nights with us on the Integrity Racing League, and thank you to Whiplash SimCams, the best camera provider on iRacing. Ross Cato leads the way with 22 laps to go. Let's crank it up from Motor City. Ross Cato hangs on, coming to 15 laps to go. Jared Davis has still not yet gotten by, and it looks like the miracle run still could be in his favor. Ross hangs for it. Then you got Jared Davis, Brian Yazik, and Ethan Lane, 1, 2, 3, 4 down the line. Yazik holding the final step on the podium. Ethan has not yet been able to get back inside the top 2, which is where he started this run. Interestingly enough, it looks like the underdogs have come out to play tonight. And of course, you got 5th place, Alex Kim. Now, Ethan was able to get by Alex to take that 4th spot back, but it still looks like Lane has not returned to the podium with 14 remaining here. Does Jared Davis have one more trick up his sleeve, or is it going to be Ross Cato who goes home sailing free? Still not a guarantee on any front just yet. Brian Yazik here has an opportunity, and this is going to be him watching off the backside of Davis. Still nothing has happened for 2nd place, nor has it happened for the race lead. It's still Ross Cato. 13 laps remaining. A Baker's dozen to do it. 17th up to 7th for Nate Campbell. Matt Sisler, 20th up to 9th, up 11 places. And he drops back 2 on that lap as Blake Cannon and Nicholas Ward alike make the top 10. Cannon now finds himself in the 9th place, and Nicholas Ward is for P10. 11th is going to be Matt Sisler. 12th is John DeBarro, Kyle Trudell, 13th, and Nick Tarbuck, 14th. So for your 2nd place starter, Tarbuck has fallen back pretty hard, and for his sake, that's not anything, of course, to be excited about. Not good news in the slightest. However, he comes in with a 13-point buffer relative to most drivers. Well, he's got himself in a good spot, so he can't afford one subpar race. Someone like Cato absolutely can't. Yazik high, Lane low. The pressure's on now on Jared Davis as Ethan gets back to 3rd. He's still got a little bit of fight in him. 12 laps remaining. Here comes Ethan Lane for the win. Jared surges on the outside out of turn 4. With a brief move like that, he's got enough momentum now maybe to chase down Ross Cato. But again, if these drivers fight each other for 2nd place, are they going to have enough stuff for the win? I highly doubt that it's going to be the case. Maybe, just maybe, with 11 laps to go here, Ross can get the benefit of these two fighting behind. Ethan Lane once again falls back, but side by side through the corners has become a more consistent ordeal. 10 laps to go this time through. Ross Cato still advantageous. Ross has now led for the better part of the last 20 laps. He just has to hang on for 10, but that is easier said than done when you're in a position like this. What can be done if you're Cato? Is there anything more he can do? Defense is going to be far from difficult with clean air. Well, that's just the technical part of it. Then you got the drivers behind you, and these two make everything difficult. It's going to be Davis and Lane, and they're making it difficult amongst each other. For 2nd again, a surge high for Jared Davis. Try as he may, Ethan Lane has not gotten by easy. Now he's got a shot to the inside of the circuit, not just for 2nd, but for the lead. Ethan Lane side by side for P1. Ross Cato has been in that top stop. Of course, he's had the position, but it looks like no longer. Ethan Lane drops through and takes the pass as easy as it comes. Ross now has some momentum out of 4. Can he use it to reclaim the race lead, or has Ethan Lane been saving enough for as long as he needed to? Is this it, or does Ross have one final opportunity? Cato stays in line here, and what a heartbreak it would be for Ross to lose a race like that. Lane has not been in the winning conversation for the majority of the day, and just when you think he's out of it, He finds his way through. The first 50 laps of this race look to be outright one of his worst of the season. He's gone. Ethan Lane is out of there. More than a tenth of a second already put up. Coming across the line, it's going to be closer to over a quarter of a second. 7 laps to go. 3/10 that time by. Wow, Ethan Lane, a man on a mission, has broken out. And so quickly, he's found himself away from his competitors after spending the entire night behind. For Ross Cato, the next best thing is quite literally to hang on to second place. If he can defend upon Jared Davis, he's still going to come in with a heavy payday points-wise. Jared Davis here, still waiting for that chance. But unlike how it came for Ethan Lane, it looks like there's no shot in the arm for the number 19. Ethan Lane has it, and nobody else has been able to match it. 6 laps to go. All the while, a little bit further behind, you're going to watch as Ryan Bean is ahead now of Brad Patton. How long he's going to stay ahead, that really depends on whether or not Brad's got the stuff. You saw Brad move down there through turns 1 and 2. Couldn't make it happen. Patton low. Ryan Bean with him. Nate Campbell on the higher side as well, so you have 3 drivers colliding in that one range. 6 to go this time by, and it's going to become less than that as it becomes officially 5 more laps. Ross Cato in second here. And it's still within 2/10. So it looks like after building up 3/10 of a second, Ross has clawed it halfway back. Can he take the rest of it? Ethan Lane surges late, but is this late surge indicative of an even later crash? 4 laps to go. Ross gets it a little bit tighter in the turns 1 and 2. And now, lunging with everything he has, Brian Yazik going at it with Jared Davis. That's for third. Advantage is still Davis. Meanwhile, watch now as Ross Cato continues to trail Lane through the straights. The job is not finished, but Ethan Lane, by all accounts, has the raw power to get it done. And I think that's something that Ross Cato right now cannot replicate. He would have to wait or hope for an Ethan Lane mistake for something to come of it. 3 laps remaining. Less than 10 miles to play it out. For Ethan, this would be his 9th win of the season, and one that is long awaited relative to the last few weeks where he hasn't been able to find victory lane, be it his own mistakes or other misfortune. The number 6 crew has been in for harder times than what he's used to. 2 laps to go, and after what looked to be more of the same and maybe even worse, Lane has a shot to close it out for another win on the calendar. And just adding to the numbers. And it would be perhaps, of course, his most unexpected win of the season, where he found himself for the first half of the race outside of the top 10 and barely inside the top 15. And by the way things play out, well, of course, that beginning of the race wasn't any help. But now there's time to revive that chance for a victory. The championship is still firmly in reach for Ethan Lane, but with 1 lap to go, this first win of the playoffs, it always signifies something special. If you're able to build that momentum immediately, it gives you an edge over each and every one of your competitors, and there is no lie that Ethan Lane wants it, and now he's less than a mile away from having it. Lane going through the opening corners, Ross Cato left in the dust. A remarkable race for your second-place driver and a critical drive if he wants a chance to finally claim a championship. But for Ethan Lane, your winningest driver, he is now looking to make it so he has 3 times the wins of any other driver. And he's now 1 away from hitting double digits for the 2nd consecutive year with 8 races remaining. Ethan Lane crosses the checkered flag and wins his 9th race of the season. Victory from Michigan. A late race surge is all he needs. Lane collects his 9th and wins the first race of the 2025 playoffs. Checkered flag falls. It is Ethan Lane on top. Maybe not his most dominant win, but not a surprise that he made the opportunity his when it counted. Win number 9. Cato and Davis make up the podium with Brian Yazik and rookie Alex Kim coming away for top 5. A race win, no doubt worth celebrating, and perhaps the most important so far on the season. Short of winning in the championship round, if you win in this first round, it's a much easier route to the rest of the playoffs, and every driver, they know it, and they're acting on that fact. You're seeing right there, Ross Cato comes out and has a career race, and not only that, he does so against the best talent in the field. Jared Davis goes out there and he was dominant to start, comes away with a podium finish and a pole position. But Ethan Lane proves again who exactly is on top, and it's pretty simple. It's that number 6 team who, even without the pole, even with one of his worst qualifying efforts of the season, and even with a strategy that intentionally kept him behind, Lane in the number 6 finds a way. Checkered flag falls from the virtual Michigan International Speedway. Well, the numbers don't lie. So take a look at them. Among your top 3 drivers, a total of 99 of 100 laps were led. Only 1 lap slipped between the cracks of your podium. Ross Cato led the most of anyone. Ethan Lane with 19 wins. Ross Cato with 48 comes second. And third is Jared Davis, your pole sitter, who comes away, of course, he's the third man. Brian Yazik comes away with his best finish of the season for 4th. Alex Kim in his first ever race, a top 5, an amazing run. Brad Patton 6th, Nate Campbell 7th, Ryan Bean 8th, and Blake Cannon P9, with Nicholas Ward wrapping up the top 10. 11th place goes John Zabaro, Kyle Trudell is 12th, Matt Sisler 13th, with Don Stevenson 14th place, 15th then in Jacob Fife. 16th is Nick Tarbuck. Brock Potter is 17th with Michael Krobach 18th. And Zach Strenthal 19th. P20 goes Nolan Potter. 21st on the day. Immediately after that will then be Brant McClendon. 22nd is Woody Mahan. 23rd, Aaron Eads. Richard Smith, 25th to Sam Nieto's 24th. Cody Smith, Josh Gallagher, Bobby Keith, Randy Fiash, and Eli Cars wrap up the top 30 with Sean Kalist, Galen Gidman, and Tom Wetmore making up the 33 registered drivers on the night. Ethan Lane was out of contention for more than half of this race, and very rarely do we say that, but it looks like tonight he played his cards just right. A tricky way to get there for certain. Had us doubting whether or not he had it made, but it looks like through all what he did, in a very un-Ethan Lane style of going through it, running mid-teens for most of the race, the one-stopper playing in your favor with a halfway caution, and so, victory. The final 19 laps, all about contending, taking, and keeping. Ethan Lane, you win from Michigan to start the 2025 playoffs.
Yeah, finally back in victory lane after all these close finishes over the past couple weeks. Yeah, no, I knew going into it was fuel saving, so that's why we didn't straightforward go to the front. Our strategy would have worked either way had that caution not come out, but it worked out in the end. we were able to make it work. We saved a little bit because I knew I wanted to start shifting with about 10 to 12 to go to be able to get the car to rotate in dirty air. And yeah, no, it definitely worked out.
To a different strategy tonight. We saw it in action, and we have to ask you, what did it take to pace yourself and keep yourself in the mid-teens? I mean, it looked intentional at the end, but the first laps had us wondering what was going on. It looks like it was a fuel game.
It was a lot of discipline. Like from the get go, you had to start, and I knew if I could make it to 51, 52, coming into pit road, then we were going to be fine. We just have to save a little bit extra. Um, like probably like a lap or two that second run, but yeah, no, it's just a lot of discipline to do it that way. Especially when you start seeing everyone pull away, your first instinct's like, oh crap, I gotta go push, gotta stay with everyone. But we were being very disciplined. There was a lot of people behind us trying to fuel save as well, and then we heavy fuel save those last 5 to 7 laps, I think, of that first run just to make it to that 51, 52 mark.
And it looks like you had the strategy, of course, to go all the way to halfway there. Everything changed, and that, of course, was that final caution. Stayed inside the top 5 race from there, and you surged late. Can you tell us what it was like going up there against Cato and Davis?
It was fun. I was just kind of riding, saving a little bit of fuel just in case, because you never know with these things. Yeah, I was saving tires, saving fuel, and then once I knew I could start going, and I was stopped saving fuel, I was like, okay, we have plenty of tire left, and we were able to push past those 3 cars in front of us, or 4 cars in front of us.
The final surge, all that counts for victory, and it's your 9th win of the season, but I would say to this point, the most important of all, beginning the playoffs with momentum. Now the round of 15 shouldn't be too much of a worry, and I don't think it was to begin with. You had a buffer, but now you have a win. So next up on the schedule, we move out from Michigan. It's Richmond short track racing. How do you feel about that?
I love Richmond, as we saw earlier this year in the Xfinity cars. So hopefully we can duplicate what we did there. Hopefully, if we can get a hot, slick racetrack, that'll play into our favor even more.
And of course, rising up to the moment, even when those first 70-plus laps didn't see the 6 team up and in front, the checkered flag sees the 6. Ethan Lane winning from Michigan for the 9th time this season. Any final comments you'd like to leave us with?
I just want to thank everyone tonight. It was fun. I was hoping we go green, but one caution's definitely a good start to the playoffs. Always to you, David, putting on these broadcasts. Yeah, just looking forward to being able to take it not easy, but have a little bit of pressure taken off our shoulders for the next 2 weeks.
Ethan Lane riding easy through the round of 15 with a round opening victory from the Motor City. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Lane on the way, and I gotta say, I mean, Lane had a great drive. That is without question. But how about Ross Cato? This is a race this team needed, coming in right on the bottom of the bubble to start the playoffs. And I would say that this is perhaps, if not the best drive. Of course, Ross, you've got that clutch victory from 2023. I would say outright the second best drive we've seen from you. And with the competition around, this one means a lot. And a very clear standout race.
Yeah, thank you. Obviously not the result I wanted, but always glad to get a great run, and this is my strongest run so far this season. It's not been a good season for me, but it's great to finish so high up the pylon and lead the most laps, get some stage points, and really show some speed tonight. So can definitely, take some solace in that.
Leading in both of our first and second half stints, we saw you got yourself up there to begin with. Now, I got to talk to you about that. We had that halfway caution that kept everyone basically on a level playing field. But before then, what was your game plan? You got yourself out, leading laps, went in just before the halfway marker. Did you have anything else in mind for the rest of the race if we went green?
When we were pacing, ready to take the green at the start, I was pretty set on making it a one-stopper, and several laps into the run, I abandoned that and just figured I would kind of do 2 stops, and in the last stop, maybe short fuel to take 2 tires. But I just hadn't really decided in my mind. And when that caution came out after the first pit cycles, I decided to come in and top off because I just wanted a little extra fuel. I didn't know what Ethan's situation was exactly, but I felt like I probably had the upper hand if I could top off. And I just saved way too much fuel. At the end of the race, I had about a lap remaining. So I played it way too conservative, and ended up costing me the win, but that's just how it goes.
Now, of course, second place, I mean, with the run you had, I'm sure you were out there gunning for the win. We saw it. But the points table is going to be hugely different with just about as good a race as you could get it outside of taking race victory. We got Richmond up next, so a completely different style of racetrack. As we go back to the history books, you've been very good at the short tracks when it matters most. Maybe a chance to do it again?
Yeah, I really enjoy Richmond, even though it's really not one of the top 5 successful tracks for me. I really enjoy racing there, and even as a fan, just going there and watching a race. But yeah, I think if something goes wrong at Richmond, at least I have this to kind of give me some insurance with the points jump. I'll have to wait and see how the math works out and just in what good a shape I'm in. But next to a win, this is the best thing I could hope for going into a track like that.
Ross Cato, second place tonight, and a huge drive to flip the tables in the playoff picture. With that said, anything else you'd like to leave us with before we head down to Virginia?
Yeah, just really good racing. A lot of the guys around me tonight, a lot of guys really understood, the multi-groove and the momentum on exit and entry, and it was really great racing around Jared. He was kind of my chief adversary tonight that I just was trying at all costs to beat. And then Ethan Lane just blows our doors off as that tends to happen. But just really grateful to this group of drivers, and thanks to you, David, at FTN. Thank you to my family, my wife who watches these. It's just a really great league to be a part of, and I'm just glad to have a strong run tonight.
Ross Cato, podium when it matters most to kick off the playoffs with 48 laps led at second place. Thank you for your time, Ross.
Thank you.
With Cato on the way, Jared Davis tonight, if it wasn't going to be those top 2 drivers, well, it's pretty simple to say it would have been the third place driver. But with the run he had tonight, he proved it and then some. Unfortunately, Jared Davis, as it has been all season long, is unable to communicate with us as he has been a little bit of ghost when it comes to his social media presence. Nevertheless, he did a great job tonight, came through, he ran 33 laps, and we're all hoping to see better from him now as he looks for the up and up. Jared's been looking stronger in the last few weeks, and when it comes to the points picture, he's another driver who benefited significantly from a race like this. Here's the playoff picture coming into tonight's event, just to give you perspective. Of course, Ethan Lane now has that 9th win. He's going to be in a much better place. Blake Cannon comes away 9th tonight. Nick Tarbuck, not so much for 16th, so he might fall back down. Tom Wetmore is going to fall under the cut. But then you'll have some shuffling, notably as Ross Cato comes from under the line to above it, and so does Jared Davis. Both of them will make their way up, and you're very likely going to see Tom Wetmore fall under, and you might also see someone like Sam Nieto drop behind after a 24th place finish. So, points will be retallied and tabulated as we go racing once again next week from the Richmond Raceway. It's a 3/4 mile circuit that is unmistakable in size and stature, and it's one of our most exciting venues on the calendar. Until then, tune in on Thursday night for our next broadcast on the channel. The Highline Racing League goes racing at Daytona to kick off its 20th season, and of course its 6th on FTN Broadcasting. Thank you for tuning in tonight to coverage of the 2025 Integrity OCTANE Series, race number 22 at the Michigan International Speedway. I've been your host, David Kreutz, commentating and producing. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel. Your support is always greatly appreciated. Congratulations to Ethan Lane on his 9th victory of the season. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a fantastic night.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Boundless makes its presence felt. It will not be ignored. We're helping turn ideas into reality with a wealth of building products that take every architectural style to the next level. This is what it's like to imagine, build, and transform anything we want into exactly what we seek. This is what it means to be boundless.
Welcome to the Underdog Racing Podcast, where we talk to NASCAR drivers from all over the great country of America. Each week, we chat about the latest races, share stories from the track, and get to know the drivers behind the wheel. We break down the action, hear from drivers about their experiences, and dive into what drives them to keep racing. Whether you're a longtime NASCAR fan or just curious about the sport, this is the place for you. So tune in to the Underdog Racing Podcast, your inside look at the world of NASCAR. Catch us every Wednesday at 6:30 Eastern.
This message is brought to you by the rebrand of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This publication may not be reposted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. NASCAR Camping World Ford F-150. NASCAR Xfinity Ford Mustang. NASCAR Cup Series Next-Gen Ford Mustang. Arca Menards. This has been the publication of the redesign and rebranding of Throttle Graphics and Designs. This message may not be reposted, republicated, or rebroadcasted without the authorized written consent of Throttle Graphics and Designs. Thank you, and thanks for your time.